Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one! Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Thursday, January 12th. I kept hoping it was Friday, thinking it was Friday, but it's not. Appreciate everybody joining us. Of course, we're brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymorehonda.com for the best in new and used vehicles. Also, Endeavor Hospitality and the Wow Club. Make sure you go to Endeavor Hospitality's My Wow Network. Sign up for the Wow Club. Start earning Wow rewards today to great places like BB's Market. Whether they're your butcher, baker, no matter where you live, they have a greatest in-house products. Last night we did the Toddcast. I had the smoked salmon dip that they make in-house. That's incredible. Very good. Appreciate everybody joining us up and at it. Fred, the Easton Assassin. Donald, down in Georgia. Howie, yeah, it's there's some weather down south, I understand. All of our listeners down in Kentucky are getting it. John, in from Cincinnati. Mike, how are you, sir? Shay, back at it. Kevin. Yeah, boy. That's really. John says it was really frustrating last night. However, he did really enjoy the Toddcast. So that was fun. That'll be coming back. Don't worry. Todd enjoyed it as well. Yes, that was an embarrassing loss. Thank you, Shay. Appreciate you. No, this team does not have fight. You are correct, sir. I believe that. He's fuming. Mike's fuming. Need a little George Costanza. George is upset. Ryan says it was rough driving into Louisville this morning. I don't know if that was because of the weather or last night's game. Wyatt on as well. Yeah. Everybody, I'm glad to see everybody enjoyed the Toddcast last night. Our first attempt at that. Of course, we'll continue and we'll get better and better. And the actual plan is for me to hopefully not be on there and to have a guest on there with Todd in the future. So that will make it even better. So hopefully that's exactly how that's going to turn out. But we appreciate everybody for joining along. It was great. The actual broadcast was fun. What happened was not. And but we'll be talking about that. We've got a great lineup today. Matt Taylor, of course. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Chris Denari, Indiana Sportscaster of the Year, no less. John Boy, I believe you're right. There is something different about the camera. I don't know what I've done.
It looks like you've added a filter for those of you who are watching on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know what I've done.
I mean, it's at least you look like a human being still and not an otherworldly being.
Yeah, you're correct. There's something going on there that will get fixed. I don't know. Well, that's good. Fred says he'd prefer. No, trust me, you'd like other people better because there's people that are actually much smarter and in tune. I'm talking about people that played with Todd. Yes, there was just one of those. Thank goodness.
See, that's the thing on those don't get sent to the radio, so the bleeping out of things isn't necessary as some of our other shows.
Absolutely. Appreciate everybody. Looks like everybody enjoyed it. So, yeah, as soon as I get this filter fixed on here, that'd be even better yet. But oh well, there's another game coming, and it's coming soon this weekend. Indiana taking on Wisconsin. Also, last night, Northwestern was playing for a share of the Big Ten lead. I believe, is it Ohio State that's tied with Purdue? Either way, they were playing Northwestern was playing Rutgers up in Chicago. And boy, they had that game won there at the end. It was a great game, fought back and forth. And then Rutgers hits a 3 in the last 15 seconds, I think it was, to get that win. And now Rutgers is 4-2 in the Big Ten. They're about a half game out of a share of the lead in the Big Ten. But it was funny. I almost sent out a tweet, but I decided not to. But that because it was just after the game. But Northwestern was playing for a share of the lead in the Big Ten, and Indiana is a game out of last place in the Big Ten. Not the fortunes that most of us expected this season. A little bit of surprise. How's the flight situation? Seems that many flights are still delayed or canceled. 9,000 flights. I mean, it's funny. You've got people that are terrorists look around going, well, we don't have to do anything. They do it to themselves. I wonder if, well, I wonder if you're flying on a private. No, I guess it doesn't matter. Even if you're flying privately, can you get back? That might make it easier. Like Indiana. So you wonder if they're back yet because of that. Anybody planning on flying today? Not me. Luckily, had a lot of flights at the end of the year, but fortunately, none right now. Let's see. Hitting up the comments again. And I'm not sure what that meant. Missed that one.
I like the one that says teed up with Todd.
That was Chef JD. There you go. I didn't even see it, but he sent that last night. That's a good name. I told him, I said, "Ooh, that's good. I like that." It was. Teed up with Todd. Yeah, that would, because he would get teed up about every 2 seconds. He could not coach. He can coach, but he couldn't make it through the games. I think he could coach the teams in practice. I don't think he can make it through a game without getting 2 technicals and getting tossed in every game. He gets it's fun. But I think you do that when you know you can do that. You know what I mean?
You think Mike Woodson would ever get thrown out of a game for Indiana?
If it does, it would have to be with absolute purpose.
Yeah.
We'll hear from Terry Morin today. As a matter of fact, they take on Maryland tonight in a top 10 showdown for the women's team, the top 4 women's team. So, and I'm going to that game. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to that. Leon, appreciate you. Says we have 3 to 5 stars, 3 5 stars, 5 4 stars, 2 3 stars, and that's not counting X and race. How can they not win? Brandon jumping on. Woodson has only had 3 winning seasons in his coaching career. 8 full seasons. Why would he expect anything less? It was fun chilling with Jim and Todd during the game. I appreciate that, man. Shay. But yes, the coaching, I'm going to stay away from that myself until we have people like Todd their opinions I respect because they've been there. It does not look good for Mike Woodson right now. I'll tell you that. It absolutely does not. And the worst thing is he's got to stop making the excuses. Stop with the excuses. Someone asked again last night about something, and first thing to do was go back to race and X being out. Stop with that. I'm never. You got to quit making excuses time and again. Yes, it's true, but the more you rely on a crutch, the more your players are going to rely on a crutch. I've talked about toughness starting from the top down, and I'm not saying Mike's not a tough guy. I'm sure he was a tough guy. I don't know, and he might be a tough guy now. I don't know that that's being expressed to the players. I don't know if that is coming across, if that makes sense. Because I always say everything is a reflection from the top down. If your coach is arrogant, there's going to be some arrogance on your team. If he's tough, there's going to be toughness. If there's fight, there's going to be fight. If it's a desire to be as close to perfect as you can because you do things over and over, you're going to be close to that. Like Knight's teams were, because that's what he was like. But the excuse making has got to stop. Stop with the excuse making. You can't say, I'm not going to use that as an excuse, and then turn around and use that as an excuse. So I'm not sure. You're saying that Todd Jadlow said that after losing to Penn State? Yeah, I don't think anyone cares what Todd Jadlow said. No offense, but it's true. You know what? I don't know that I don't know that's what is missing. It's what's there. It's what's there. Are they getting what they need from what's there? It's not about what's missing. There's freaking 7 or 8 coaches around these guys. 7 or 8. This is the biggest coaching staff in all of college basketball. You've got your 4 regular coaches. Then you've got the 4 consiglieres that are on staff.
Right.
So I think it's more about who's there than who's not there, personally. But we've got lots more coming up. Matt Taylor is going to join us on the program today. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Chris Denari. We're going to hear from Terry Morin. We'll hear from Mike Woodson as well. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our good friends from Phoebe's Market. I can't wait. I'll be there tomorrow. See Chef JD, man. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's
all right.
Yes, you are correct.
Oh, Jeff Beck died.
What? Oh, I gotta figure out
that.
this. What the hell I did? How this happened? I was screwing around with these last night. You know the layouts?
Oh yeah.
How come they're not changing when I change the layout? Now that changed first time.
Because there's only 2 of us. There has to be more people.
No, it doesn't. It just changed. Do you not see it?
Well, because certain ones won't work if there's a certain amount of people in.
Right. None worked last night, my point being. Anyway.
Really?
Well, I mean, it was just the two. Oh, that goes full screen.
You used to not like that. That's why we started doing this. And plus, you have to see the background to do that.
Yeah. Hey, did you get my email about that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did about the getting the new radio stations on there. Yes.
And see how. All right. Yeah, that's perfect. That's fine. Never mind. I gotta find this stupid filter. Settings.
What's
Camera.
Wrong? What happened to Jeff Beck? Was he just? I mean, he was 78, so I guess he just.
Dude, help me with this.
He suddenly contracted. Oh, with
I don't.
camera?
Yeah, I don't care about Jeff Beck.
I don't know what you would have done because I never do anything like that with my camera. Maybe go into settings on StreamYard and click on camera and see what it offers, but maybe the resolution's different. That's the only thing I could think of on, at least in terms of StreamYard.
God dang it.
Ooh, do you want me to see if Keegan wants to come on and talk about those recruits, the football ones, or no?
Yeah.
Forgot to get back. He forgot to get back with me on that. I'll see if he's
Does that
available.
look? No, that doesn't look any better, does it? Looks worse.
It doesn't look. I'll say it doesn't look worse. There's less shadow on you. All right, here we go.
Dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Jim Coyle with you as always. It's Thursday, January 12th. Dustin Schutte on assignment. Looking forward to talking to Matt Taylor today, Kyler Staley, Chris Denari. We'll hear from Terry Moore and Mike Woodson as well. Tonight, the women's program takes on Maryland in a top 10 showdown. What time is that game? I'm assuming it's either 6 or 7. And it would be good to know. Rick Bozich is going to be there. He is coming up. That tells you how big it is. Well, that's the oh, yes. They beat Northwestern in their last game out. Unfortunately, I'm not getting more games. This thing is slow today. The weather looking kind of junky. I saw and heard that John Boyd down your way, down in down in Ross's area, maybe.
Yeah, closer to that. I don't know if it's quite to where he's at yet, but down in the central part of Kentucky, there were some tornado warnings this morning.
A little surprising.
I
was very surprised. I was like, what? It looked out and it's wet here, but being in Bloomington, that is.
You know, it's weird. It seems like, I don't know if it's because of the way, I don't know what's causing it, but every year now, it seems like it's more common, at least in this area, to get severe weather like this in the wintertime rather than in the spring or in the fall.
Well, it's oh wow, same in Evansville.
Look at them.
So our friends down listening on the ref, hope everything is going well today.
But yeah, it's winter. Yeah, it's odd. This is not the time of year normally, but it happens. It's not global warming. It just happens. But maybe it is. Who knows? Jennifer had hail warnings this morning at 3 a.m.
Yeah, we had hail here as well.
How would you know? How would you know you have hail warnings at 3 a.m.?
Well, I don't know if it's a warning. I think she
no-
just heard hail on the roof is probably what she means to say.
Oh, she said that's right. She said she had hail this morning at 3 a.m. My bad.
I looked out my back door and it was on the deck, and I was like, "Wow, this is something."
Yeah, we're trying to ignore it, John. Indiana
Ignore
does
the
have
mediocre basketball team.
the mediocrity.
Yeah,
Actually, they're this close to being mediocre.
I think they're already there. I mean, I know
I was
you have the
kidding.
excuse.
I was kidding.
I know
That was a joke.
I got you. I know we have or that the excuses are there if you want to pull them out, not having Xavier and Race, but your team shouldn't rely on just two players to make a difference. If you're Indiana,
can't.
you need to have the depth to be able to compete, especially with Penn State. It's not like you went out and lost to Purdue or somebody at the top of the conference last night.
Bill says IU as a team isn't as good as we thought, coached as well as we hoped, and doesn't play as hard as they expect. That kind of wraps it up. The thing is, they should be better. I think those last two things on that, the coaching and not playing hard, there's your biggest problems. You've got the talent. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's already been listed here on the comments by the number of the level of talent that is on that team. You can see it for yourself. You don't need me to tell you that there are major, major problems with that program. And even the most ardent of fans who don't give up the ghost no matter what, and that's great for you. That's fine, but you don't go commenting towards people that are a little more locked into reality on it. It doesn't take long to see things. I was thinking about this last night. John, you ever been kicked in the nuts?
I have actually, yes.
Did you need anybody else to do that again for you to know that hurt?
No, not at all.
It seems like this team needs to be kicked over and over and over and over and over. And maybe the coaching staff does too. I don't know. I don't know if they're giving them all the tools. I'm not there, so I don't know. Maybe they are. And there was a statement a while back. I think it's a question I asked Trace Jackson Davis, and he said, "Oh, we had a great game plan. We just didn't follow it." Yeah, well, why? I mentioned I heard Mike Woodson mentioned had a great game plan last night. They keep saying they got great game plans. Well, what the hell's going wrong with these game plans? If you keep having great game plans, what is the issue? Well, I think it's because the other teams are taking you out of your game plan and you don't know what to do next. Well, shit. Oops. There it goes. Plan A. There's no plan B. It seems like there's no plan B, and everybody knows what plan A is. And they seem shocked that everybody knows what plan A is every time they show up. That just seems to be the long and short of it from my end. Chad doesn't think it's the players' fault. Help defense was obviously held down to stop the drive, leaving guys wide open for threes. They were just, yeah, but guess what? When that happens, you make an adjustment. You're like, all right, guys, we're underhelping, overhelping, however you want to. I think Todd called it the opposite last night, but fix it. Fix it in the game. Don't watch it for the whole time and then tell us what happened. We all saw it. Fix it. Make adjustments. Thank you, Pete. 6:30 game time tonight. Thanks, guys. But that's the issue, I think. Hello, Matt Taylor.
Hi, what's up?
Well, you know, just you. It's your world. We're just living in it, baby.
I don't believe that. What's going on today? It's raining up here.
Well, it's raining everywhere. They got tornadoes down in Kentucky. And people are not happy with Indiana basketball.
No. I think the weather today is indicative of their feelings, right?
Pretty much. Exactly. No sunshine. Ain't no sunshine. You always love when I sing. How's Matt Taylor doing?
Doing well. Yeah, I did not watch the game last night, so I'll have to take your word for it.
Yeah, well, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah, no, so it's sort of winding down here a little bit, putting the season to rest and getting ready for the off season and formulating a plan of attack for, how we're going to talk about all the things and all the changes that are coming down the pike for the Colts and, a new head coaching search, or I should say the search continues for a head coach, I should say. And, before we blink, the Super Bowl is going to be over. Then it's going to be all about the combine and the draft and the Colts picking 4th overall and quarterbacks and things of that nature. So staying busy, believe it or not.
I don't doubt it, my brother. I don't doubt it. I'm sure they've got you involved in the search for a new coach, or unless they're going to name you the new coach.
I think they've already taken my hat out of that ring, but yeah. No, it's, they interviewed Bubba Ventrone yesterday, who's their special teams coordinator. And then, as the playoffs continue to progress, more and more candidates can be talked to, right? I mean, candidates from teams that end up losing on wild card weekend can then go next week and then so on and so forth. So obviously the pool is going to be, it's going to get bigger and it's going to be the net's going to be casted wider and wider, if you will. So, from that standpoint, I fully expect the Colts to take their time on this. And, I would be surprised if we had an answer on a head coach prior to, early February, just because I think the Colts are going to do their due diligence on it and they're going to want to talk to everybody that they can in due time because of the processes of teams that end up losing week by week in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a lot of changes coming for the Colts, and they're major changes, obviously, with a coach, the first thing to be put in place, and then of course the draft will come up in the later in the year, and obviously with the high pick, looking at probably at a quarterback. So a lot of big time changes for this franchise at the top.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anytime that, I mean, it's very rare for this franchise, obviously, to draft as high as they are right now. I mean, you have to go back to 2012 when the Colts picked in the top 5. And I know some will say, well, in 2018, they had, a top, pick in the draft. And they did trade back and they picked 6 that year with Quentin Nelson. But, I mean, yeah, they're in a prime position right now, to get a franchise quarterback. But the big question is, okay, you've got this opportunity, but is that guy there? And that's what they're going to try and figure out here with the evaluation and the tape and the combine and all of that stuff for the next 4 months. Or some of these mobile quarterbacks at the top of the draft, do they merit? Do they warrant being picked in the top 5? And it's interesting right now. You got the Bears sitting there at 1, then the Texans, then the Cardinals. 2 of those 3 teams. Hypothetically, at least on paper right now, don't need quarterbacks. They have young, bright stars, if you will, with Justin Fields and Kyler Murray, but you never know what teams are going to do, and you never know what teams are going to be asking for in order for a team like the Colts to move up. So you got to be right, especially if the Colts, fall in love with the quarterback and they say, we want to go to number 1 because we don't want the Texans to get the guy that we covet because they're in our division. And we don't want our guy to fall to the Texans and have to play that guy twice a year, every year for the next, whatever it is, 2 contracts, if you will, in the NFL. So how much are you going to have to give up? Are you going to be okay with giving that much up? And, are the Bears in love with Justin Fields, or could they fall in love with a new quarterback sitting there with the top overall pick? So what I just laid out is going to be talked about and bantered about for the next 4 months by not only, teams and personnel people, but, us folks in the media. So it's going to be a long, 4 months before we get to the end of April to hash all of this out.
And don't forget the Wonderlic test.
Yeah, which you failed, by the way.
Over. Who do you think wrote that thing, man? They wrote it on my failures. That thing came from all my failures. That's funny. The Wonderlic test. What are your thoughts on that? Does that really have a bearing on how good your quarterback's going to be?
I think it's part of the puzzle. I think everything that they do is part of. I mean, there's a reason for it, and some of those things that have been in the combine have been weeded out year by year because of the fact that there's really no relevancy of it anymore. But that I think has stood the test of time because they do want to see how quickly you can compute, how quickly you can process information. And, don't ask me why some of these questions are asked, but I do think it all sort of translates, big picture. I think it just translates to your ability to process and to be able to group and sort and take in information and troubleshoot. It's just sort of like this question is sort of in relation to how well you can master a playbook and how well you can think on the fly. So I think there is some sort of correlation there. It may seem ridiculous and it may seem preposterous to ask you, some of these questions that are on the Wonderlic, but I do think it all just sort of barrels down to your ability to compute and be able to take information that's not needed to solve this problem, take the information that you do need that is critical to solving the problem, and being able to just process it as fast as you can. It's sort of like standardized testing, and you just want to see how much poise guys have because it's timed, right? It's sort of like the SAT or the ACT, and you get incorrect answers for questions that you don't answer at all, that you don't get to. So you want to see how guys prioritize and budget and time manage. So I think all of that sort of factors into, how you're sort of made up mentally.
Chris Ballard said that he acknowledged that he made some mistakes and his approach to the season may have not have been the right one, but going forward, talking about the quarterback and how important that he talked about his willingness to make a trade, as you talked about, but that's got to be paramount to replacing that since Andrew Luck has left. There's been no stability there whatsoever, and that if there's no stability there, it seems like everything else is just on rocky ground. It doesn't matter how good they really are. You're on rocky ground if you just don't have that quarterback leader.
Yeah, he said that, some of that has contributed to where the Colts are at right now. And I think when you look at all the decisions that the Colts have made at quarterback since Andrew Luck has retired, you can look at them in a vacuum one by one and you can understand them. I think honestly, it's tough to be critical of the situations that the Colts have made at quarterback since Andrew Luck's retirement, because that's really unprecedented. And honestly, the Colts have made the playoffs twice since Andrew Luck retired. And I don't think a lot of teams could say that. I think the Colts have won a lot of games given how crazy that time period was. And I don't think a lot of teams would be able to sort of duplicate the amount of success that the Colts have had. Now, that being said, have they still underperformed? Have they still underachieved? Do they still have a lot of work to do? Without question. Absolutely. Listen, you just can't build a sustained winner, and it's hard to build a roster around a team that now is going to have a different starting quarterback in week 1 of the regular season now for the 7th straight year. I mean, you just can't do that. And Jacoby Brissett in 19, you just don't have enough time to fix that problem, if you will, or to address it in a significant way when Andrew Luck retires 10 days before the regular season. And then in 20, you got a good roster and Phillip Rivers is available. He's got significant, experience and relationship with the coaching staff at the time with Frank Reich. Let's add this veteran quarterback and let's go. And they made the playoffs that year and should have won a game in Buffalo, but they didn't. So from that standpoint, they did underperform. In 2021, there was an opportunity to, get a quarterback, but they decided to go the route of a young enough quarterback in Carson Wentz that they thought they were going to get for the next 5 to 7 years. Again, tremendous relationship with Frank Reich. There was an experience of playing well in this offense with Frank, with the Eagles. That year that the Philadelphia won the Super Bowl, just didn't work out. And so from that standpoint, right or wrong, they did not, their assessment there was inaccurate. And then last year, not having a first round pick because of the year before making that trade for Carson Wentz, there's not an opportunity to move up in the draft. The quarterback draft class last year's not all that great anyways. So all of these things, again, individual circumstances, individual decisions have all contributed and added up to where the Colts are at right now. But I think the difference this go around is that this roster, I think last year proved that they're not a quarterback away any longer, right? I don't think that this roster and the record and the season that the Colts just put in, I don't think that warrants a plug-and-play veteran at this juncture, especially not when you're picking in the top 5 and you have a chance to directly impact your franchise quarterback for, again, the next couple of contracts. So I think, long story short, I think the quarterback is obviously atop of the need list, but they've got a lot of other needs as well. I think it was a full roster contribution on how they got here at 4-12-1 to end the season. I don't think that their talent, and I don't think that their roster construction no longer warrants them saying we can go the veteran route any longer and just plug and play and we'll be able to contend in an AFC. If you look at the AFC, Jim, the playoffs right now, what all the teams have in common? There's 7 teams, and they all have young quarterbacks, 25 years or younger, that were all drafted in the first round. So it's pretty clear that, it's if you want to get in that neighborhood, there are certain things you have to do in order to buy your way in, if you will.
Yeah, we were talking about that not too long ago, how there has been such a shift in quarterbacks that has gone from the old veteran guard to now it's all the new guys. 2/3 of the quarterbacks in this league are 5 years and less, and it's amazing because it used to be the complete opposite. But it's a little exciting. The brand of football is changing a little bit in the NFL as well. It seems to be going a little bit towards the college game. I don't want to call it the college game, but it just seems a little different.
I think you're right, though. I mean, I think you're right in the sense that these young quarterbacks and the playoffs and how teams are winning, especially with defenses being more athletic. I mean, you're seeing 3 techniques being more involved in pressures and sacks and hurries, more so now than they ever were. Even if you go back to 10, 15 years ago, I mean, some of these, the Aaron Donalds of the world and even the DeForest Buckners of the world. I mean, these guys are impacting the game. And so from that standpoint, you've got to have quarterback mobility, right? The Colts allowed close to 60 sacks on the season. Not all of those were all on the offensive line. Obviously a large, a number of them can be attributed to the lack of protection. But when you have the lack of mobility at quarterback that the Colts had this year with Nick Foles and Matt Ryan, it's hard to win in this modern day of NFL, and I'm not talking about like the Lamar Jacksons and the Kyler Murrays where it's just sort of, I think that is the college game. I think Justin Fields, I think that is the college game sort of trickling up to the NFL with the way that they play. And quite frankly, I don't think that is long sustainable. I could be wrong in that. We'll see. But I'm talking about like Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. I mean, just to be able to make a play when things aren't perfect, to just be a playmaker, to have some athleticism and some dynamic traits about you, to just when things sort of break down, the play's not doomed like we saw this year with the Colts with their again, those traditional pocket passers just having to just eat the ball and leading to all the turnovers this year for the Colts in the passing game and the fumbles and things like that. So I want to see what the Colts can do this offseason and prioritize someone coming in here with some traits of mobility and athleticism and just sort of be able to break the pocket when things aren't perfect as a play breaks down. So I think that's what you have to have in 2023 NFL football.
And as we cap off this season, the playoffs begin this weekend. Playoffs? 6 big games, man, starting with the wild card game, the Seahawks and the 49ers on Saturday at 4:30 on Fox, the Chargers and the Jags. Speaking of, there's your 2 young quarterbacks right there, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is lighting the record books up in his first 3 seasons. Dolphins, Tua. There's Tua, the Bills, another young quarterback. How did the Giants make the playoffs?
Giants are good. Daniel Jones, like I said a couple of weeks ago, that was really the first time that I had gotten to see him and study him and examine him since he's been in the league, just because we don't play the Giants all that often, and I don't watch a lot of NFC football, and the Giants have been so bad they're not on primetime a lot. I think that'll all change. But Daniel Jones is a player. He really is. And he honestly, he fits exactly what I'm talking about. He's not that dual threat college game read zone, gimmicky stuff, but he is a running quarterback. If you look at his stats, I mean, this year he set a franchise record for rushing yards by a Giants quarterback. And I mean, he had over 600 yards rushing 2 weeks ago. I'm sure he's well over that now. And he had a huge game against the Colts. He had 90 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns against the Colts. So he changes the dynamic. He puts more pressure on the defense. They can add in wrinkles for him as a runner where you have to respect that. And then also just when plays break down, he can go make a play either with his foot or by time, running out of the pocket and stretching the defense, rolling out, and being able to throw on the run. All of those things I think you have to have. And I think they got something to build around in Daniel Jones. I really do. I think the Giants are going to be a really good franchise for the next 3-4 years. I really do.
Well, it's fun watching all these teams. The only one I look down through there and you see the Buccaneers at 8-9 somehow snuck into the playoffs with old man Brady.
And they're going to win this week too. They will win that game.
Do it really on Monday night? They'll beat the Cowboys?
This is what we said internally in the office. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're like Cathedral High School. They're Cathedral football, right? They're not going to have a great, this year anyways, they're not going to have a great regular season. Cathedral up in Indianapolis, they play a tough schedule. They're a 6A team, and they bolster their schedule with a bunch of, top-notch programs in the central Indiana area. And so, you play 9 regular season games. They might go 5-4. Heck, they might even have a losing record. But what do? They win state, right? Everybody gets into the tournament up here. But they're one of the best teams in their class every year, even though, their regular season record might not indicate that. That's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just get them in the playoffs, which they are. And based on the rules, because they won their division, they're going to host a playoff game, a home playoff game. And from here on out, it doesn't matter what the records are. It's about matchups. And I'll take Tom Brady in the playoffs based on the matchups any day, even despite his down year, despite the age, there's just something about January football with that guy. And I think they win. I do think they beat the Cowboys this weekend.
Well, until he's proven otherwise, you are correct. He wins a lot in January.
Yep.
Matt, what's up next for you, brother?
Just like I said, putting the season to bed, and having our content on a weekly basis, talking about the coaching search, and getting ready for the combine, getting ready for free agency. We'll have more and more content as those things start to heat up. Content on Tuesday with the podcast, radio shows on Fridays, and then we'll have our free agent capsules in a couple weeks leading up to free agency. So it's peaks and valleys here in the off season, trying to get away a little bit. It's going to be really weird this weekend having a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday not dedicated to the Colts. It's going to feel like a 7-day weekend, if you will, just because of how foreign it is to not be focused on football on Saturdays and Sundays.
Enjoy it, my friend.
All right, brother, man. Be well.
You as well. Have a great weekend watching some football. Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We appreciate him greatly. Brought to you by our good friends from Endeavor Hospitality and Go Teen Bites. Make sure you go grab some of those. I had some here yesterday. I meant to show those. Man, they are delicious, tasty for those on the go. Quick, easy snack. You can pick them up at BB's Market or GoTeenBites.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal.
And now I'm alone. I believe Jim is going to try and fix his camera, is my assumption here. Nothing different.
No, he didn't get a 4K camera. There's a stupid setting that it's gotten changed somehow. 5 lefts, and I can't figure it out. Damn it. I don't remember changing anything.
I mean, unless you did something by last night by accident, but
It would have been last night. But I was the only thing I was doing was screwing around with these things. That's when I couldn't get the picture in. That's when I wanted to do. Why can't see? Why
did you all use
why doesn't
during the halftime? That's pretty smart. Just
use
so
it
y'all
when?
can take a break, kind of thing.
Didn't see it. I didn't see it.
I didn't put it in there. I guess Joe did it.
Well, he did, and he's awesome. I didn't know it though. We talked.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's another one. Not only was it the worst defensive performance, he did jack squat nothing offensively.
All right, you'll do a short segment here, and then we'll have Kyler on here in a couple minutes.
Man, this thing is driving me insane.
Oops.
It has to be the actual camera itself, right?
I mean, it could be your room lighting. I don't really know, but I'm assuming it's the camera.
Nothing's changed with that. No, it's how it's filtering in.
Well, don't let it bug you right now. We're already.
It's
almost
driving me
halfway through the
insane.
show.
It's driving me absolutely insane.
You just did something that changed. You
Well, I know I'm changing. Yeah, I did. It's stupid. Damn it.
All right, here we go.
With your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. It's January 12th. Weather's kind of iffy in and around different places. Going to get cold here tomorrow. I know there's rain right now, but thunderstorms and severe weather south of us. Hope everyone's staying safe. Down along the river, our peeps in Evansville, listening on the Ref and Marengo on WBRO. Everybody down in southern Indiana, down the Jeffersonville way, Floyd, Clark, down in that way. Hope everything's going well down there. I know that there was severe weather further south in Ross's area down there in Kentucky. So we're thinking about everybody.
Tanning bed. Ha. We're talking about I've got a issue going. If you're just listening, you don't have to worry about it. But, we also run this on YouTube. And somehow I've hit a filter and I don't know what the heck I've done. And it's just odd looking. It's like it's focusing on certain things and not on other. I don't know. I'm not a technical guy. Not my area of expertise. The NFL playoffs this weekend. We just finished up with Matt. Someone, who was it that just said that? Five lefts? No, it was Larry. He said the Cowboys are going to win on Monday night. Cowboys fans. That's going to be an interesting game. But I promise you, in no other way, in no other world would an 8-9 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team be playing on Monday Night Football, the NFL playoffs, if it weren't for Tom Brady. And there's no way for me to ever say the word playoffs without saying it. Playoffs? I mean, there's just Jim Mora, or his dad, rather, he's made that a permanent fixture. Playoffs? Rudy says, has anyone had a worse year than Tom Brady? I don't know how bad's his year been. He's making damn good money. He made the playoffs with a crap team, with an under 500 team. He's good. He's good. Yeah, I mentioned last night Miller Kopp, 29 minutes in what was a horrible defensive performance. Not only that, but offensive. He didn't do diddly. What's the point of him being out there? I don't understand not trying other things. Beating your head against the wall and expecting change is the definition of insanity. Seeing this picture, and it kept on playing last night. I don't understand why other guys are not getting some time to help them to grow. There's been no growth in this program for 6 years. It's not just one coach. It's the program. There's no growth. There's no, this is not. I'm trying to select my words cautiously. Things don't seem to be going in the right direction for Indiana basketball as a program. And I don't see that changing. But it certainly can. I'm not saying that it cannot. But it's not going in the right direction. There's no question about that. I don't think that I have to watch what I say in regards to that. It's a fact. It's not going in the right direction. Screw that. I'm sick and tired of hearing about these stupid injuries. Tired of hearing about it. It has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the program going in a wrong direction. It is not filled with guys that are prepared to do everything it takes to win. They don't look prepared to do what it takes to win. I said earlier, it looks as if Indiana comes out with a plan A that they either don't follow or the opposing team takes them out of that plan and there is no plan B. And for a staff that has 46 coaches on it, I don't understand that. Why? What good is having 3 assistants and 4 consiglieres when no changes are made? Nothing happens. What the hell goes on? What are the roles of the consiglieres? And I'm naming them the consiglieres. They're consultants, so-called consultants. But Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com going to join us next. We'll take a quick break so we can get back to him and get back on that. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. If you're down in the Louisville, Southern Indiana, Floyd, Clark, Harris, and Scott County areas, they have served those communities for 3 decades. No one will get you in the home you want quicker or faster than Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or our buddy Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. We're back with more and Kyler Staley right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore.
Hey, just a heads up before I bring Kyler in. I don't see anyone that has Terry Morin sound. I pulled Mike Woodson and Trey Galloway, but I don't see anywhere that has Terry Morin stuff.
Indiana didn't post it?
No. Unless Kyler would know where it would be.
Well, no, Indiana.
Coach Moore.
Indiana women's basketball. They didn't post their own?
We double checked, but I just looked.
Wow. That would be.
Let me see.
This stupid filter's driving me absolutely insane.
Yeah, the official Indiana Athletics YouTube, and the women's team does not have their own YouTube, just a heads up.
Well, no
did
one
not.
has.
The most recent thing is their post-game comments from Northwestern. They don't even have comments from last night's men's game. I think we're the only people who posted that, if I'm not mistaken.
Who's this?
The official Indiana Athletics YouTube page.
Oh, so are you talking about the like the post-game press conference and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So we had to do it over Zoom last night, and guys from inside the hall, they recorded it and sent it to us. So
very nice of them.
Yeah, JD couldn't figure out the record part of the
Gotcha.
Zoom. It was kind of chaotic yesterday, so
he wasn't there this time, was he?
No. None of us were there for that. So I did get a good question in for Trey, and he answered it pretty well.
I'll look for that one then whenever I.
It's the very first question. That's mine.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Good to know.
JD was just like, all right, this is who I'm gonna go with. Like it came out of nowhere.
Did you ask Woodson anything?
No. It was like Woodson got there are specific people that could ask for Woodson, and then specific people that could ask for Trey, and then JD just did it that way this time.
Interesting. Don't you love how the more they lose, the more restrictive they get of things?
I don't know if it was just because they lost. It was just because they were on Zoom and there were travel issues. So they were like, no, like skipping in line and things like that. So
that's fair. All right, how much time we got here? 40 seconds. Jim, are you good for now?
Yeah, I'm just pissed off about this camera.
Yeah, you're really bright.
Shoot, where did my music go?
Gosh,
right, hold on, I got to get this back.
What's that like?
Not that bad.
It's still it's not right though.
All right, here we go.
No, it looks like
market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Thursday. Hope you're having a good day, and we're helping you get on that way. We appreciate you being with us. Brought to you by our good friends from Feast Market and Cellar, part of the Endeavor Hospitality Wild Club. Feast is located right next door to Southern Stone on Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington with an incredible supply of choice of great wines, sommelier on staff, incredible foods. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com joins us now. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good this morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Just trying to bat all these comments around, man, from everybody. They're not happy. They're not happy. They're upset.
A lot of people got a lot to say this morning. That's for sure.
Yeah. And this is pretty much wraps it up. A wash, rinse, repeat program right now. That's pretty much Indiana. Wash, rinse, repeat. Indiana athletics is not on good ground right now. If you look at both football and basketball, they're not in good shape.
No, they're not right now. Last night was not a whole lot you can say, just disappointing. Kind of, mind blowing to me. Just how much they've declined on the defensive end. I talked to Keegan about this in our wrap up last night, and I said, going into the season, you knew one thing. You knew Indiana was going to be a tough defensive team. You knew that was going to be their backbone of the team. That was going to be their strength. And for the life of me, I just can't figure out what went wrong. Yeah, you want to throw in Xavier Johnson and Race Thompson, two senior leaders, two of Indiana's best defenders on the bench right now. But at the same time, it's like that mindset just went away. You allow 18 threes, and then I think Penn State had 31 shot attempts from behind the arc. That's mind-blowing to me. There was too much overhelping. I thought the straight line drives killed them last night. I just don't know what to say other than that. It's just I don't know where this Indiana team, why they declined like this. But their backs are against the wall. They're going to have to go in and beat Wisconsin on Saturday to get some kind of hope back. But right now it's very glooming right now in Bloomington.
Yeah, and Mike Woodson using a lot of excuses. I'm trying to watch the words that I use, but I don't know that there's another way to say it because, again, last night there was a question and one of the first things out of his mouth was X and race. He's got to let go of that. That's happened. So deal with the here and the now. And I said earlier, it just seems like this team has a plan A and either the players are not following the game plan, which we've heard Trace say that. And my question next would be why? But the next part of that is, okay, the opposing team either takes them out of their plan A or they just simply don't execute their plan A, and there is no plan B. And there does not seem to be a plan B. And if there is, it's not being implemented. There's just no change. It's like they go out every time with, okay, well, that didn't work. Damn.
I agree with that. You don't see it on the floor. You don't see a whole lot of adjustments made. Now, last night, the second half, they did come out and they did start to fight a little bit. That was probably the one little positive you can even take out of that is they did show some fight, but then it just went away. It's like Penn State would hit a few shots and then it just went away. All the air came out of the balloon there.
Well, they showed fight when you're down 20. Who cares?
Yeah, right. But
how about fighting not to get down 20?
Yes, I agree with that. But, they got it within 5. But then after that, like I said, it just all the smoke went out and you just don't know what happened there. You just don't know what's happened with this Indiana team. Whether they're following the game plan, this coaching staff, their minds, they have a good coaching mind. I'm going to say that right now. I'm going to be the one to defend that. I don't know why the players aren't following the game plan. I don't know why they're going away from what they are being told to do. It's just baffling to me how they can let up so many threes like that. And
my next question would be, if those players are allowing that and not doing what you're supposed to do, put their ass on the bench. What is Miller Kopp's purpose? Please, somebody tell me on God's green earth why he took up 29 minutes of space on that floor last night. He might as well have stayed in Bloomington. No one would have noticed. He could have been making his TikTok videos back in Bloomington and no one would have cared, because that is what I see them more into. Miller Kopp more about making his – and that brings up something. I cannot believe this. I saw it late last night. Did they really get into an Instagram beef with some fans?
It's not fans. It's the Barstool Indiana account, which I'm going to be honest with you.
But it was not the account. They responded to that, and then its fans started, and they started going. Yes, I took. I'm glad this reminded me of this. This is the quintessential reason why, right here. You want to know why Miller Kopp is wasting 29 minutes on the floor, in my personal opinion? Well, and I wish I'd have sent these to John, but I took Barstool, Indiana posted a meme that said, basically, I'll hold it up for the camera. You can't see it listening to it, but it just said that, it was a triangle, and it said, I get my hopes up on one end, I get disappointed, I start to believe again, I get my hopes up, I get disappointed, and it's a big circle. Well, Race Thompson responded to it just with not verbally, but then there were other, including Anthony Leal says, keep that same energy. And then there were responses, hurt your feelings? Then you shouldn't be playing basketball at Indiana. Someone said soft. The next person said, want us to keep up that same energy? This is why they don't need to be going on there. Want us to keep up that same energy from UNC game? This is a fan. Then don't blow 20-point leads and let nobody beat us at home, especially Northwestern. We pay $500 for tickets and come every game. They should not. I'm not saying that what this person's saying is right. Why are these players engaging this on social media? Worry about what the frick you're doing on the court. But the best one of all was my favorite, Miller Kopp. Bunch of pencil neck clowns on this app. Look at us in the eyes and you'd be quiet as can be. Guarantee that. Then he responds to someone, you got a lazy eye, my boy. That's what's going on, though. That's what's going on. That's what he's worried about. TikTok videos and calling people pencil neck, whatever, clowns on social media. Maybe he should be worried about playing the game he's supposed to be playing, that he's being paid to play for.
Yeah.
This is getting me, that got me so pissed off last night when I saw that. I'm like, are you kidding me? That is why Indiana is losing. This is why you have a team who can't focus to do their job, because that's not what they're concerned about. This is what they're concerned about. And you are not going to convince me otherwise now that I've seen that. Sorry about that, Kyler, but George is a little steamed.
Everyone's a little stressed out right now.
No, it's not about that. That aggravates me. I don't care who wins or loses. I'm not here for but that kind of stuff, don't do that and then act like you care. Don't. I just stay off of social media. Put the TikTok away.
Yeah.
Stop shooting half-court shots.
You know how instead. You know how Mike Woodson is on the social media. You know he hates it and everything. And I do agree with a lot of that as things.
Mike Woodson doesn't know what social media is. Let's be honest.
He knows that the players are on it. And he knows
I understand, but I don't think he truly knows what social media really is. I'm starting to believe that.
He might not. That's besides the point. This Indiana teams, let's just circle it down right now. Let's just build it down right now. This Indiana team's got to turn its focus back on. This team's got to stop worrying about what's going on social media. Miller Kopp, I know that he's wasting a lot of minutes on the floor. There's a whole lot of stuff that he's not doing. But I'm also going to say on the offensive end, Indiana's got to do a better job of getting him involved too. There's a lot of times where it's a little bit of one-on-one. You saw it last night with Jalen Hood-Schifino, and I'll break down the film with anybody. You saw a lot of times with Jalen Hood-Schifino, he went one-on-one, and he tried to do that. There's a lot of times where Miller Kopp's open, and they don't find him. Miller Kopp's proven that he can hit the three, and I think that, he's got to work a little bit harder to get open. But, at the same time, Indiana's got to figure out a way to utilize their best shooter on the team. This offense is very just stale right now, and it's got to be fixed. It's got to be more creative. Last year, I thought it was a lot more creative than Archie Miller. This year, I kind of see a little bit of Archie Miller offense in there, and I don't know what the reason is right now. Let's just, come down to it. Indiana's 1-4 in the Big Ten. You can throw away hopes of a Big Ten championship right now. But as much
Big Ten championship, this team's not going to make the freaking tournament, brother.
Anyway, So this sounds a little weird coming out of my mouth right now, but there's still 15 games left. Indiana's got time to turn this around. They've got to, whether people want to admit it or not. That's just the way it is. When you look at the schedule, there's 15 games left. They're only 5 games in. They got to get a win at Wisconsin. They got to protect home floor. They got to beat Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's a very, very good team, one of the top teams in the Big Ten. They're going to have to fight through adversity, and they're going to have to come out with a win to get this season a little bit back on track. And then they're going to have to get back to their defensive ways. They're going to have to get back to their toughness. I don't know where that's went. I wish we had the answers to where that's went. I wish Mike Woodson would give the answers to that, but he just doesn't. He keeps it in-house.
I don't think he knows.
Does
he know? If he knew, don't you think he would change it if he knew?
There's a good possibility. Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think he knows. That's the problem. And yeah, there are 15 games left, but when there has been zero change and zero fight, I expect zero change and zero fight. I don't expect to see anything different. There's been no change by the coaches. So why would I expect there to be any change? Now, they're sticking with the same players, doing the same things, making the same mistakes, same players sitting on the bench, not getting any better. Logan Duncan will not be here next year. Mark that down. He will not be in Bloomington next year. He cannot find the floor. And if they were winning, it would be one thing. They are not. They're not even coming close. And I don't understand the inability, the flat out refusal to say, time to do something different.
Yeah. And you and I both know it is time to do something different with this Indiana team. And, last night, speaking with Mike Woodson and Trey Galloway, you could sense, especially in Mike Woodson, I think he's finally hit a breaking point. And I think he's actually a lot more frustrated than what he has been. You can just kind of tell it was building up game by game, especially in the Northwestern game. You could sense that kind of tone in his voice. His voice this last night, it was something where, I think he's kind of woken up a little bit. And he needs to. Mike Woodson's got to get these guys playing right. He's got to quit saying that, I got to get them to play right. I got to get them over the hump. It's time for him to, kind of show that. This Indiana team's got to follow the game plan. This Indiana team's going to have to just be more tougher. I mean, just be more tough. That's just what it comes down to, and that's the way I see it.
Mike Woodson played for Bob Knight, played for a team that, played tough, hard-nosed defense. But guess what? Todd literally pointed this out to me, or made me realize this. That was 4 years of his life. And that was 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He spent the next 20 whatever years, 30 years, however long, in the NBA. So his time in Indiana is just a minuscule dot on, and none of that is being, I don't see any of that used offensively or defensively. From a man-to-man standpoint, they look lost. They really, truly look lost. It looked like Archie Miller defense last night. That game reminded me of when they played IU Fort Wayne. And the guys were, or it was Indiana State or one of the two, that they were just drilling threes. And the guys were basically running circles around them, trying to defend them. That's exactly what last night looked like to me.
Yep, that was the Indiana State game. That was Archie Miller's first game. I was at that game. But yeah, I agree. That's what it looked like. It's just there's no adjustments on the defensive end coming out of halftime, and that I was like, I just don't know how you can't go into halftime, make those adjustments, and come out and realize, hey, Penn State can shoot. Penn State's a really good shooting team, and they got it taken to them last night. They did. All you can do is say next game, we'll just see what happens on Saturday. Let's see if Indiana's got that fight in them. If they don't, season's over, in my opinion. Season, you can just wrap it up.
I've not gotten into this side of it. Thad Matta left on his own accord.
Mm-hmm.
Dane Fife, of course, was fired. Those were the only two coaches on the staff that really had true college coaching experience. I mean, in depth. Brian is brand new.
Kenya and Yah have been around for a while, so let's not get that.
Kenya has. Yah still.
He's younger, but Yah has a lot of experience. Let's nip that in the bud real quick because those two do have.
But neither of them had great experience. I mean, they were under Archie Miller for one thing, so that can't be great.
Kenya was, yes, and Brian.
My point is, I don't think there's a lot of college game experience on this staff.
Maybe not.
You've got the 4 consiglieres that are all NBA type guys.
Mm-hmm.
What is the point of having 8 coaches when you look like the least coached team in college basketball?
That's an answer. That's a question that I can't answer. That I just don't. I don't know. I'm not a college coach, so I can't answer that. That's just my answer to that.
Yeah. Indiana coming up again on this weekend, a game at home against Wisconsin that will not be easy. Wisconsin playing well, and Indiana is going to have to find something, and you don't just find it. So where do they go?
They go to what got them into the tournament last year. They get better on the defensive end, and they just have that mental toughness. I think that's where you go from here, and you have the mindset that we are not losing this game. Trish Jackson Davis got to be a big leader on this floor. On the floor, he's got to get that through the other guys' heads. Jalen Hutchefino's got to stop turning the ball over. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Appreciate you, brother. Don't work too hard. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you give him a follow. Up next, Chris Denari from the Pacers. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Metalworks Brewing Company, part of the Endeavor Wild Hospitality Group. You can find Metalworks Brewing Company at all the restaurants, as well as the brewing company itself, located right off the square in Bloomington on 6th Street. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a home. Hey, Mr. Chris. Hey, Mr. Sportscaster of the Year.
Hey, thanks. How are you?
Almost forgot about that.
Yeah, I've got a long way to go to catch Don Fisher. He's only won it like 17 years. I'm going to have to work until I'm 90.
Yeah, well, the rest of us putzes just sit back and watch you all pile them up.
No.
Oh, I've got filter issues on my camera. I don't know what I did. I did something. I changed something. I don't know what I did, and I can't get it fixed back.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bad thing about technology. My wife, she was in Sarasota the last 4 or 5 days with girlfriends. She got back last night. I got back about 2:30 in the morning from New York, and she's a hairstylist. So we've got like we call it the she shed, but it's a full. It could be like a little guest house off our patio, and she has her hair salon out there. So she got me up. She goes, "Hey, I'm sorry to get you up. My internet's not working out there." So I had to go out there and get it all set because she runs YouTube TV out there. So
she shed. That's funny.
Yeah, it was. It's really awesome. It's right off our patio. It's got a full bath, shower.
Wow.
I mean, it would be like a pool house if we had a pool. We don't have a pool. But the guy who flipped when we bought the house 3.5 years ago, it was just a big shed. And the guy who bought the house and then flipped it and we bought it, he made it into a, like a living area. I mean, it's, I could use it as an Airbnb if I wanted, but that's her hair salon. What did he just say? Tornado warning and earthquake in Kentucky. Wow.
Yeah.
Earthquake. I haven't felt the earthquake, but there was a tornado warning earlier.
Well, it's where Ross is. Ross is further south of you.
Earthquake. Wow.
Well, that is odd there in central Kentucky, but
Yeah.
you got Mammoth Cave, man. You got Mammoth
Yeah.
Cave right in the middle of that state that just is a big old hole in the ground. It probably goes straight down to the center of the earth.
All right, here we go.
Food and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday, January 12th, joined by our good friend, Chris Denari, who is the reigning Indiana Sportscaster of the Year. Congratulations, Chris.
Well, thank you very much. Very honored. It's, I think we all are in this business because we love it. We don't do it necessarily to win awards, but it's nice to be recognized. And as I was telling you off the air, to catch the great Don Fisher, the voice of IU, who has won the National Sports Media Award for Indiana, I don't know if it's 20 times, awfully darn close. I'm going to have to work into my 90s to even have a chance to catch him. So very honored. There are a lot of great people that broadcast in our state, and I'm just happy to represent them for 2022.
Absolutely. We appreciate you. The rest of us putts is just, we're all down here bowing at you, Don.
But yeah, it's, I got back late last night from New York while the Hoosiers were playing at Penn State. The Pacers were at Madison Square Garden. And we learned just minutes before tip-off that Miles Turner was going to be out with back spasms. And then Tyrese Halliburton got hurt during the game. They were already without Nesmith and Brissett. And they were down 25 in the third quarter and yet had the ball down 2 in the final couple minutes with a chance to win. And it was a remarkable comeback. It's what they've done all year long. This team has no quit in it at all, and but came up short against a good Knicks team. So I guess today is the day to wait and find out about Tyrese Halliburton. He left the arena, Madison Square Garden, on crutches. Some concern about left knee and his elbow. And I can tell you, Miles Turner, while he was doing better, he was walking very gingerly when he got onto the bus to go to the airport and then up the stairs to get on the plane. So today will be a very important day to find out the health of those two because, they're two of the best players, the leader of the Pacers, Miles Turner having a career year. You don't want to be without them for an extended period of time.
And they've got a good homestand coming up after these next couple of games that they can get to. But the fight, though, that's great to see that because you mentioned not getting to watch Indiana Hoosiers last night. Kind of the opposite. That's a team that has zero fight. And this Pacer team, it's even more ironic. The Pacers and the Hoosiers nothing was expected of them. Very little.
Right.
The expectations for Indiana were very high. These teams have gone opposite directions. Indiana is way underperforming, and the Pacers are way overperforming, but it's on grit, determination, young talent, but no quit attitude. I mean, when you're down that as bad as they were, it's hard to keep coming back, but to get into position that they were without and not make excuses of having injuries, that's huge.
Yeah, they had – so down the stretch, they were without 4 – usually they play 9 or 10. That's their rotation. They were without 4 rotational players from midway through the third quarter on. As I said, 3 starters not on the floor, Nesmith, Turner, and Halliburton. And O'Shea has done a nice job off the bench at the 4 position. So you're right. And one of the keys for this team, and we can say if they've overachieved or whatever they've done is there's a camaraderie, there's a togetherness, there's a belief in one another. They don't care who gets the credit. The coaching staff has done a really good job in bonding this team together, and that was great to see. And Quinn Buckner, who sits next to me, the IU legend, this comeback's going on, and he's during timeouts trying to follow the Hoosiers. I mean, that's very important to him. He and Mike Woodson are very close. I mean, he's the chairman of the board of the IU Board of Trustees, and he shows me the phone with about 3 minutes to play, and you could just see the disappointment, in his eyes. To the Penn State game, for me, I'm happy for Micah Shrewsbury just because I've known Micah a long time. I mean, I hate to see it.
He's killing it. He's killing it at Penn State.
I hate to see it happen at the expense of IU, but I've known Micah a long time. He played at Cathedral. He's a Division III player. He played at Hanover. He was an assistant coach where I went to school at Wabash. He was an assistant at Butler. He was an assistant at Purdue. He was an assistant to Brad Stevens with the Celtics. And you're right, Jim, what he is doing, I believe, at a very difficult place to win, Penn State. So I couldn't be happier for a great guy in Micah Shrewsbury.
Yeah, difficult place to win. That's
that may be an understatement, right?
Akin to Indiana football. It's just Penn State basketball. There's never, those words don't go together. But he battled, and they've got it. They're an NCAA tournament team now. So yeah, they're doing well. And the fact that he is an Indiana guy, hey man, working hard at it. But the Pacers, they're also working hard, and those guys continue to work. This season is going where, even though they lost last night, a loss like that's got to give you more confidence.
Yeah, I think it galvanizes the group. It shows them what they can do. And again, they feel like they're never out of a game. Now, would we all like to see them get off to better starts? Absolutely. They're the worst first quarter team in the NBA, but they're the best fourth quarter team in the NBA. So it'll be interesting to see today exactly, though, the injury status and what we're looking at, because you've got a couple of tough games coming up tomorrow and Saturday. You've got Atlanta and Memphis. Memphis comes in, one of the top teams in the West. They've got Ja Morant. They're on a win streak. And then you go on the road and you go to Milwaukee, Oklahoma City, Denver, and Phoenix. So these next 6 games are very difficult. But if you looked at the last 11, you would have said the same thing. And the Pacers went 8-3 in that stretch. So, very pleased with what the Pacers have done through the first half of the season. But we still have 40 games to go and a lot of basketball still to be played.
Absolutely. And the Pacers are looking like they're going to make the playoffs, which is, again, a surprise, but good for them. And that will continue to bolster. But how is that going to affect how they build this team by having a better season than they anticipated?
Well, I mean, clearly where they are, they still have 3 first-round draft picks next year. They've got their own. They've got Cleveland's. They have Boston's. Cleveland and Boston are 2 of the best teams in the East. So those 2 picks are going to be somewhere in the 20s. And we don't know where the Pacers pick will be, based on, where they are right now. Right now, they're 7th in the East. Still a long way to go. And again, we've got to see what this injury situation is, because that could greatly affect the Pacers moving forward. The one thing they have, Jim, they have a lot of cap space. They would have the ability to sign free agents. There's so much focus on right now Miles Turner. He's in the final year of a contract. The Pacers have the opportunity to extend him. It's been said that there are negotiations going on right now. We'll just have to wait and see. They have some young talent already on the floor. There are 2 rookies this year. Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard are playing outstanding basketball. Nembhard is in the starting lineup. Mathurin is probably one of the top candidates for Rookie of the Year and 6th Man of the Year. So no matter what happens moving forward, they still have a very young core They can add to that through the draft. I think many people thought that they might be in position, for another top 5, top 6 pick. We'll just have to see as the season plays out. But I do think winning, and I think we would all agree, winning helps your franchise as much as anything because it gives your players a great belief in themselves. And I think that's been the key to this first part of the year. No matter what happens, this group has a firm belief that they can win games, and that will only help them moving into the future.
Absolutely, because you mentioned those 3 draft picks. When those guys come in, there's not a ton of veterans on this team, but these core young guys are going to become veterans quick, and they're going to impart onto them that, hey, you got to bust your butt here. We're here to win, and they're creating their own winning culture right now, it seems like.
Yes, and let's not forget that you could package those 3 picks plus all the cap space that you have to acquire a veteran to come in and play with this young group. So the Pacers have as many options as any team in the NBA. And I think as you look at it right now, everything is good. Everything is a good option. There are a lot of teams that don't have cap space. They're an older team. They've got rookies that haven't panned out. Those are the teams that don't have a lot of options. They don't have a lot of opportunities. So I think where the Pacers are sitting right now here in early January, they're not just good for the now, they're pretty good for the long term as well.
Yeah, and I think, again, I'm not wanting to make this an Indiana Pacer thing, but the difference between having guys like these guys, even though they're young, they're self-motivated. They know what it takes to win as far as effort, and they're giving that effort. They don't have to have the coach come out and motivate them with some speech. They're doing it. They want to win. They have this desire to win, and that's, I think, Indiana Hoosier fans are not seeing and understanding. That's a difference between having pro players. Those guys, they're out there. It's business, man.
Yeah.
They treat it like a business. They're out there to do a job, and they know that. And I think that you get that.
And they have a really good mix of veteran players. Rick Carlisle said, and players in the locker room said last night, that one of the keys to the comeback was TJ McConnell. Not just what he did on the floor, and he was tremendous last night, but it's what he said in the locker room at the half. It's what he was saying in the huddles. And I know that coaches appreciate when they have players like that can command the respect of their teammates and help lead them out of an abyss, right? They were in a 25-point hole with probably 8 or 9 minutes left in the third quarter, and yet in the final 3 minutes, they had a chance to win the game. So you can never overlook what a veteran can do in helping guide a young team through what is a turmoil through the season, as well as each and every game.
Yeah, and so this is going to look to be a fun season for the Pacers, a little bit funner than we anticipated, as there's a long way to go yet. But you can tell how things are usually going to go, and so this is going to be a fun season to watch them and hopefully eventually make the playoffs as long as they can stay healthy. What can they do differently than they're doing now to raise up? I mean, not that what they have done is not great and beyond expectations. It is. Are they at their level right now because of, this is the talent they have, and they're playing above some of that talent even, but it's going to be hard to play much higher because they're sixth in the league in the conference right now.
Yeah, I think one of the things they've got to do a better job of, and it's what happened last night, is the slow starts. It's very hard to continue to come back when you're trailing by double figures, not only in the first quarter, but the first half. And so I think that's got to be something that they've really got to look at. Why are we such a slow starting team? Now, you love their fight. You love their energy. Before last night, Jim, they had, in the last 8 games, they had gone 7-1 in clutch games. And in most of those games, they had rallied in the fourth quarter to win. And that's why I say you can't do that every game, right? You can do it sometimes. And the Pacers have been very good at that. They've got 11 wins when they trail by 10 or more points. That's number 1 in the NBA. They have 16 wins in clutch situations. And for those listening, clutch means plus or minus 5. in the final 5 minutes of a game. They have the most wins in clutch in the NBA. So that's all good, but you can't always hang your hat on coming back from double-figure deficits, coming back in the fourth quarter. So what I would say, what can they do better? They need to get off to better starts.
Well, and that's all part of learning, I think, probably from some of the younger guys and playing against maybe either a more veteran team at times or whatever the case. What has that been the case? What has been the lead to the slow starts that you've seen?
Well, I think to your point, when you have a young team, it's understanding that you've got to come out and the key word that Rick Carlisle likes to use is play with force, play with aggressiveness. And this team sometimes does not play with the force that they need to start games, and that sort of builds up during the game. And so I think that could be a young team, again, not sort of understanding how you have to start the game. They clearly can finish a game that way, but they've got to get off to better starts.
Chris Denari, brother, congratulations again. He is the 2022 Indiana Sportscaster of the Year, and we're very fortunate to have him with us here each week, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you next week, Jim.
Yes, sir. Have a great weekend. Chris Denari joining us here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We got lots more coming up, brought to you by our friends from Cabello Restaurant, a proud member of the Endeavor Hospitality Wild Club. Make sure you stop by Cabello, located on the square in Bloomington. Get the taste and traditions of Southern Italy right here in Southern Indiana. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Boy, I agree with that right there, 1,000%.
Yeah.
This is a very, very immature team.
For a team that has that many veterans, that's sad.
This filter is driving me absolutely nuts that I cannot figure it out.
Let's just worry about it after the show.
Dude, it's easy for you to say. I can't stop thinking about it. It's this entire show. It's driven me nuts.
I've got the Woody comment that you've been referencing all show about the you know what you've been saying. I don't know how to explain it, but do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
I've got that, and I've got Trey Galloway, Kyler Staley's question that he asked him.
Wow, you can add a second camera on here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, we can. Do we have StreamYard logos on our streams?
No.
Okay. I don't even know what plan I have. Oh, that is my current plan.
Here's some from Ian Rappaport. The Bears are expected to name Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren as their new president and CEO. A major hire for the organization and for Warren, who spent time in the NFL prior to college football as a top executive for the Vikings.
What? Where's that?
Yeah, Ian Rappaport on Twitter. He's a national insider for the NFL Network.
I know who he is. I didn't know where. I was just wondering where it was. NFL.
You can probably just search Kevin Warren and find it.
Yeah. That's the best thing that can happen to the Big Ten. And now maybe they'll have the common sense to bring the guy back from the ACC that should have been the commissioner of.
What if they hired Fred Glass as the commissioner?
That would never happen.
It wouldn't, but I just wanted to hear your reaction to that.
The fact that your evil mind even went there worries me about you.
All right, here we go.
Always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Thursday, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, high atop the 18th fairway here on a rainy day in Bloomington. Some news out of Chicago. Well, not necessarily out of Chicago, but by NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. Thanks for John for catching this. But Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren expected to be named the president and CEO of the Chicago Bears. He's expected to replace Ted Phillips, who's retiring in February after 39 years with the Bears. A little surprising. The Big Ten had a commissioner for how long was Mr. Delaney in that position? A long time. And Kevin Warren's only been there, 5 years or so. But that could be the best thing that happened to the Big Ten. And the current commissioner of the ACC, I cannot remember his name. I'll have to look that up. But that is probably who should have been the commissioner. And I think Don Fisher said this as well. Jim Phillips. Yeah. See if the ACC has enough sense, or the Big Ten has enough sense to bring Jim Phillips back. He was with the Big Ten before they named Kevin Warren and then the commissioner. Then he left and became the commissioner of the ACC instead. But that'll be very interesting to see in which direction the Big Ten goes, because this is a major time for the Big Ten. You've got growth of UCLA and USC coming in 2024. You've got the 2024 new TV contracts that kick in, that programs will double their income from Big Ten to about $100 million each. Lots of changes coming. So that is coming at an interesting time. So that's a little interesting to see. Did not expect to see that today. Christmas come early. Christmas come late. Who knows? Indiana basketball, that does not change the fortunes of Indiana men's basketball. Don't forget the women are playing tonight at home against Maryland. That's a top 10 matchup. Coach Terry Moran's squad with one loss on the season, ranked in the top. They're number 3 or number 4, depending on what poll you look at. This is a Final Four worthy team, the Indiana women's team. They are Final Four worthy. I don't know that they can win a national championship. We talked to Rick Bozich about that yesterday. He'll be up at the game tonight. He talked about how solid South Carolina is, and that tells you how good they really are, knowing how good Indiana is. But looking forward to getting out to that game tonight and watching them play. They're fun. Jason says not hiring Steve Alford years ago is still haunting us. I disagree with that. He was the answer, and as the school refuses to see it. Wow. Jason, I appreciate you, brother, but I could not be further on the opposite end of that than anything. If Steve Alford was the answer any place, he would be the answer someplace. He's at Nevada. And he's at Nevada for a reason. I mean, I don't know where. Yeah, that I have never understood the Steve Alford thing. I've never seen him be a great coach. I think he's a mediocre coach, to be honest with you. A great person, I'm sure, but I think he's a mediocre coach. Look at his results.
He's been a D1 coach for how long now? 28 years? Has he been to 4 Sweet 16s? 5 maybe? Averages a Sweet 16 once every 6 years. Is that what you want? Yeah, I Steve Alford is not it. It would be great if they could have an Indiana guy, but it doesn't matter. Coach is coach, man. Yeah, Indiana is a little different. There's no question to that. I think that as a coach, though, you can learn that. You can learn that culture and become a part of that culture. I'll be honest with you. Is Mike Woodson really pushing the Indiana culture? How is that being pushed? We don't see it on the floor with tough play. We don't see it on the floor with great defense. You don't see it on the roster with Indiana recruits. How is the Indiana, they're not winning. How is Indiana culture being cultivated? I don't see that. Does not run any type of system that's close to that. So there's no relationship. The only relationship is that he went to school here and he played here 40 years ago. And I think that may have been, the connection is just not quite there. Because I don't think that the players are, I'm not seeing them reflecting that. I watch Indiana play and I don't see just good hard-nosed basketball. I just don't see it. I'm not trying to pick on one particular person, but someone did point out something earlier that cracked me up and it reminded me of a statement earlier by Miller Kopp. Instead of working on his game this summer, he played golf and worked on his tan. Well, it shows. It certainly shows. Those are the kind of answers that explain what you're watching right now. If you want those answers, just look back at those answers. They'll answer your questions that you're seeing right now. I truly believe that because there has to be a reason. It's not for nothing. There have to be reasons. There are reasons. There are reasons why some teams are playing well, playing hard, winning, and why some teams are not playing hard, not playing well, and losing. It's not by accident. Philip pointing out Wisconsin's without Tyler Wall, their best player right now, 50-50 for the Indiana game. It's Indiana. I've got a hunch he makes it. Big players show up for the big games. I agree. I think that Mike Woodson not only does not know the college game, I think he doesn't care to know the college game. I think he wants to try to implement something that maybe he thinks is going to benefit guys when they get to the NBA. Well, you've only got one NBA player out there on your entire roster. And he's a freshman. So is everything being just turned over for one player that's going to the NBA? Because I don't see more than one NBA player out there. Now, Malik Renew could possibly become one. But right now, the only NBA player on that roster is Jalen Hood-Schifino. So I don't understand why they're not running a college attack. Or I guess it doesn't have to be. Saying a college attack is not accurate. Running an offense that is more effective against the opponents they're playing. Let's say that.
Yeah, Tamar Bates did not start last night. I don't know if that was just to bring him off the bench. He did score in double figures, and maybe that is what that thought was. I'm not sure. Not in the coaching meetings. Leal for Kopp. I say anybody for Kopp. I'm not kidding. Anybody. You, Derek, Philip, D, Kevin, John, everybody on this list here. Everybody commenting. I don't care who it is. When you play that much and contribute that little, pointless. It's pointless. But I blame that on the coaches. That obviously it's not an issue to put in that kind of performance because you know you're going to play every game. You're going to get to play. All I got to do is show up. Well, they're not showing up. The staff's not showing up. The team's not showing up. And the fans are getting a little tired of showing up and being the only ones there. Indiana, Kyler earlier said that there's 15 games left. This team can turn it around. It's not that they can't. I'm just a little more pessimistic because of what I've seen. I haven't seen anything that looks like it could turn around. Hopefully I'm wrong for the fans' sake. But, man, don't want to get back on that train. It's a lot more fun when we're talking about teams that are winning. But, you look at the Pacers, that's all that would have had to have taken, and the Indiana fans would have been very proud of this team, I guess you'd say. The Pacers are given the effort when they weren't expected to win, but yet they are. Why? Because they're playing hard, game in, game out. Because games like last night when they're down huge, but they come back. They didn't win, but they gave themselves a chance to win, and they tried to win. Donnie says Woodson's recruiting strategy should be see who Painter wants and try to steal them. Well, they didn't offer. Indiana did not offer scholarships to Fletcher Lawyer, who's a freshman guard starting at Purdue. Indiana did not offer a scholarship to Braden Smith, who's a freshman starting guard at Purdue. And for those that have listened and said that when I said that he would have crawled to Bloomington, if you think otherwise, it's because you don't know what you're talking about. You're going on because you're a fan of where he is. I don't care where he is. I don't care where he goes. I'm just saying what I know, and that's because of where that information came from. Yes, he wanted to go to Indiana badly. That's why he didn't even get an offer, because he would have taken it. And yeah, what happens to recruiting? NIL helps with that, but guys like Liam McNeely, who are down at Montverde watching, I don't know, even though that I know that there have been some issues with Malik as far as getting back up to speed, but if you think Liam McNeely is not sitting down there watching what goes on up here, I think you're wrong. I think they pay attention. They talk to those guys, even though that they didn't play together. That information travels. Todd talked about it last night. He said if he didn't come here to sit the bench and watch people like Miller Kopp play doing nothing. Yeah, there you go. Just win the Big Ten tournament, something they've never done. Ross expects a big time roster turnover. Let's hope not. But Let's hope not. Well, thank goodness we're at the end of the deal. It stinks not having Dustin here. I like talking to Dustin, or like, bouncing off of there. It's better than sitting here and having to listen to me the whole time. Yeah, what does playing harder mean? That's a good question. How do you coach that? How do you see that as a fan? You can tell. You can tell. You know it. Well, man, it's been a fun day regardless. Thanks to Matt Taylor, Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com, and Chris Denari from the Pacers, Indiana Sportscaster of the Year. It's been a blast as always. Big thanks to John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. And, of course, no bigger thanks than to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. We're back tomorrow to do it again. Daggone, gigantic lineup, John. Who all is on tomorrow?
We're going to have Alec Lasley. We're going to have Zach Osterman. And we'll have Keegan Nickerson here to give us a little update on what's been going on in the Indiana football transfer portal.
Yeah, we've got to catch up with that, man. They've been adding a lot of names. So we'll get caught up on that, see what's going on, and plenty more with Alec and Zach, and see what else we can scare up. But, man, it's been a fun time as always, and I can't thank you guys enough. Look forward to doing it. Be coming to you from BB's tomorrow. Yes, I'm excited already. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.